Welcome to the Enter the Mind podcast.
The most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind.
Why enter the mind? Because it's that room in your house that's been there all along that you've never gone into.
Well, now it's time to enter with two mind coaches dedicated to self-help and the thriving of all human beings.
I'm Kyra Carlin.
And I'm Robert Nelson.
Welcome to Enter the Mind.
In this week's episode, we're going to do a continuation of last week's episode on positive and negative self-talk. Before we get to that, Kyra, how are you this week?
Doing good. You, Robert, just helped me finally solve the problem with my fire alarm, whatever the hell it is. So I'm happy about that. Thanks, Robert. How are you?
The smoke detector. Well, it's a temporary solution, what you just did, but yeah, one step at a time. So you're welcome. Glad to help. I'm doing good. It's just one insight after another, and I'm here. I'm diving. I feel like I'm a deep sea diver, explorer when it comes to the mind and psychology, because every day it's just like another new thing pops up, another new behavior of my mind, just like training a dog, and then it does some weird thing one day that you've known your dog for, it could be 10, 12 years, and yet it might do something that surprises you, and then it's back to training class, So that's me in my mind, but hey, that's what our podcast is for. It's for bringing those insights to the surface and exploring. So with that said, in our little chat before this episode, you were saying something about my sweatshirt, and it was giving me a lot of ideas for. Oh, there's your cat there. It's giving me a lot of ideas for sort of this self-talk thing, because it was a really great example. It was a really great analysis you were about to do. So why don't you introduce the topic through that example?
Okay, will do. First of all, I'm happy to hear that you feel like a deep sea diver. Love that. And the second is, so we wanted to continue, the kind of self-talk, and I thought it'd be good to kind of go into a little spiral upward, of course, an upward spiral of sort of giving you specific situations where some really like mean negative self-talk can come in, and what to say instead, to talk to yourself nicely. So Robert has a sweatshirt on. Robert, can you show me your sweatshirt, please? So that is Robert's brand. And on the back, he has his website. And I was like, okay, well, yes, there we go. They can see it a little better. So I was saying, like, Robert could have ordered this sweatshirt for himself, and he could have been like, oh, like, it's not going to get any traction. Like, nobody's going to ask about my sweatshirt. I don't even like know why I'm doing this. Like, I'm wasting money. It's just not going to get anywhere, right? Or like, instead of saying that to yourself, even unconsciously, because sometimes there are deep thoughts, like deep beliefs that can make you sort of talk to yourself negatively like that. But instead, you can say to yourself, like, I don't know what's going to happen with this sweatshirt, but I think that it's a great idea, and I think that it could get some traction. So, whatever happens, I'm happy that I took the risk. And that is just so much more loving than being like, it's not going to get any traction. And on top of that, if your friend got a sweatshirt for their brand, would you go it like a friend, like a good friend, would you go and talk to him and be like, dude, that's not going to get any traction. Like, you're stupid. You wasted your money for buying it, like you would never talk to a friend like that. At least I wouldn't, unless it was like, I don't know, if they got a sweatshirt that said like, I don't know. But the point is, you wouldn't talk to your friend like that, so don't talk to yourself like that.
I think there's a brilliant point there, which is that when we examine our self-talk, the key is to perceive it as something that's coming from the outside rather than something originating on the inside. And so, like you're saying, if a friend were to say something to you like, "Oh, why'd you buy a sweatshirt with your company brand on it? You know, how's that a good idea?" If a friend said it to you, you would clearly kind of discard that communication, or you would deal with it a certain way. But if that same idea manifests not from someone else's mouth, but from your own thoughts of self-doubt internally, I think there's a tendency for us to kind of skip the examination phase and just take it and accept it. And it's totally, that's why self-talk can be so, on the one hand can be empowering, but on the other hand can be so dangerous.
I completely agree about that whole thing, like that voice coming internally. It's like we skip that examination part. And I think that comes with being scared of letting go of a specific identity that you have. It's kind of like a tiny little detour on our topic, but we can get right back into it. But definitely, I feel like when you say something to yourself, it's like you're kind of scared to go off in your mind and be like, is this true? Because then you have to sit there and you have to ponder and you have to think on if it's true or not. And then if you come to a decision that it's true, or if you come to a decision that it's not true, like it's almost like there's another thought that comes up, and it's like, I'm not smart enough to make this decision in my mind, sort of thing. That's how I feel about what you said.
Makes me think of critical thinking. And at least when I was going through high school and college, critical thinking was the buzzword, and it was very popular. Everybody, all the teachers were trying to help you think critically and not just believe everything you see in the news or the internet and this and that. And I think it's relevant for self-talk. You don't want to believe every thought that comes into your mind. And I think it's much better to witness the thoughts and to kind of see them. I had yesterday, I made a video on a part 2 video on social media scrolling, because I did a part 1 on its effect on the mind. And it was quite popular. A lot of people were watching it. And so I did a part 2 and I made the point where at the very end, I made the point that you can examine your mind as a news feed. All of your thoughts are like a news feed. And when you're scrolling through your thoughts, right, what if you just examine them? So instead of posts from other people, it's your own thoughts, one after the other. And you see the chain, and you see the flow, and you keep scrolling and whatever. And it helps, I think, at least to distance ourselves from our thoughts, so that it's more so seen as that outside source that needs to be examined.
I really, really like that, because it's such a good analogy. It's kind of like the whole like when you're meditating, and it's like view your thoughts as clouds that are just kind of coming by. But it's cool because in the feed, like the Instagram feed analogy, it's pretty cool because it's like when we are on Instagram, like we're just kind of scrolling. We're not attached to anything that's going on in our news feed, but it's like if we want to read it, then we'll stop and we'll be interested in it, right? But it's like for some reason in our minds, we stop on posts that we literally don't fucking care about. And it's like, why am I stopping on this post? And I think that it all comes down to people are so programmed with their minds and the thoughts that they have and the way they make themselves feel and the way that they talk to themselves. But that split second when they stop talking to themselves in a harmful manner and they start talking to themselves in a really nice manner, all of your thoughts change. And it's almost like it opens you up to a whole new world that you don't know about and you're not familiar with and you're uncomfortable in. And you're like, all right, well, I'm going to go back to negative self-talk and reading into all of my thoughts that I actually don't want to read into because I actually have no idea what's going to come next and it scares the fuck out of me. So I think that that's one of the main reasons that people participate in like harmful self-talk. It's just because when really nice self-talk comes in, it's really unfamiliar for a lot of us. And we enter this like world of like love and like happiness and all things are good when just literally 30 seconds ago, we were like in the pits of hell in our minds, you know? So it's foreign.
Yeah. So you said that really, really nice self-talk is unfamiliar to us. And I think that's really true, that when I catch myself speaking negatively internally, and then I try to turn that around, it's weird. It feels like uncomfortable. It feels like, it's like, what is this here? Am I pretending now? Or I don't know. Do you have examples of kind of where speaking to yourself, I think lovingly is the term you like to use, but you have examples where you've turned it around for yourself, where it was kind of, you caught yourself speaking negatively and then you turned it around?
Like say for my life, for example, like I've definitely come far, but I'm still not where I want to be. So it's like sometimes negative self-talk can creep in, but then like once I actually like focus on the energy of talking kindly and lovingly to myself, like everything, the bright side of everything that I'm doing now and have now comes along. And it's almost like I'm like, damn, Kyra, that's kind of fucked up. Like your life is actually really fucking good. Why are you letting yourself look at your life in such a dark matter? Like your life is actually really, really good. So then when I like step into that energy, you know, it's foreign, obviously, and it's different, but it's really, really nice. And it's not going to take one day for us to completely cut off all of our negative self-talk. You know, I feel like throughout our entire lives, it's going to come along. And the best thing to do is just be aware with it and kindly talk yourself through it. Like, oh, this is just a negative viewpoint. These are just negative thoughts. No worries. I don't identify with them. They're not mine. Let's get back on track. And if you can't get back on track, then you have to go in and you have to find that negative thought and you need to find out why the fuck it's taken over.
Yeah, it's like a search. I was going to say search and rescue mission, but you're not really rescuing the negative thoughts, more like a search and destroy mission, right?
Yeah, like a domination. You know, domination in Call of Duty?
No, I'm not familiar with Call of Duty.
Oh, okay. I thought that that's what you were referring to, like search and destroy, like search. Okay.
Oh, no, just like in the general sense, you know, military terminology, sort of a thing.
Okay.
Just from movies. I guess from movies is where I picked it up. But yeah, it's like the question is, how do you find that? And yeah, it would be so nice if we learned that in schools a lot more. Like if we had teachers who catch, and I'm sure some are like this, but teachers who catch when a student is buying into a limiting belief. Because it's tough to see that stuff. It's like invisible. It's hard enough to catch it, on your own, or it's hard enough to recognize it in the first place, but to recognize it consistently and help people get through it is a whole different thing. You know, it's just so, it's buried, it's invisible, you can't see it. That's why I keep insisting on this perception of our thoughts, perceiving our thoughts as like a news feed or something visible, something tangible, because everyone knows what it's like to clean your house, to see that things are a mess and to clean it up. But we struggle with the mind because it's invisible. It's like, how do you clean an invisible house, you know?
It's funny. I was just thinking about like how you can find the negative thoughts. And I feel like when you step into that like energy, like when you're talking to yourself like lovingly, and like when you're talking to yourself kindly and everything, and you have a good perspective on yourself, right? You need to find the resistance. Okay, so like here's an example. Like I realized that I've actually been like out of the present moment for a while, and I didn't even know it. And so it's like now it's really, really, really nice to be coming back to the present moment. But it's like when I come back to the present moment, I have all of this like resistance. But it's like as soon as I hit the present moment, I realize what's wrong with me. I'm like, oh, well, I feel insecure. I feel like everyone can see me. I'm not in my head anymore. So I don't know what the fuck is going to come out of my mouth next. Like, am I actually a bitch? As every other thing programmed in my mind is, am I a bitch? Is something that's going to come out that's rude or not what I believe in, you know? So I write all of them down and then I proceed to work on them, right? Like, so that's, I think, one way that you can catch the negative thoughts. So we have the news feed by looking just like at the news feed of thoughts in your mind. And then we also have the stepping into what you want, but realizing those negative things that come up. Have you ever done that?
Sometimes, like, emotions are important, and emotions like cue us into what's going on. I think a lot of the time is I'll have some sort of emotion going on, some emotion of discomfort or something, and it grabs my attention, and then I have to work backwards and see what was the thought that I had that created that emotion. And then that thought usually was preceded by some sort of event where someone did or said something. Then I interpreted it a certain way, and then an emotion hit. And so for me, the process is going backwards from emotion to, all right, now what was the interpretation, that split second, irrational, for lack of a better word, interpretation or assumption that my mind made of objective reality that then caused the emotion. Is that how it works for you too?
I feel like now that you're explaining it out in the open into like your words, that's definitely a way as well that I find out like the negative thoughts that are going in my mind. I'll work back and I'll see like the event and everything. But I also think that that's different than stepping into something and just finding like the thoughts. I feel like it's slightly different. Like it's the same, but it's like they're two different sort of processes. So
Give an example.
Okay, so like say Grant Cardone called us up individually and he's like, Robert, I want you on the show. He's like, Kyra, I want you on the show. And right, say you're on stage and you're in this like amazing energy and like it's going so well, but then all of a sudden you feel like just like insecure about being up there, right? So that is just like one way. So it's like you're up on the stage and then it's like you're feeling resistance and you're feeling scared. So you're feeling scared and you're feeling insecure. Okay, so like that's fine. Then you accept it and then you can write down in a notebook or whatever, like when I got on stage in front of thousands and thousands of people, I felt insecure, right? But then the other way to do it would be when I got on stage, I felt secure. And then you could write down, insecure. And then you could write down on the page, like, why did I feel insecure? Is it because so many eyes were on me? Is it because this and that? So I guess like the first example is something I wouldn't say like unfinished, but it's sort of like a rough draft for that second part that you were talking about. And then like you can go back to it later if it hasn't been solved, and think about the thought that was before the emotion, and then the situation that was before the thought. So did that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds similar to how I would think about it.
Okay.
Yeah. If I was on stage and then those feelings came up, well, it happened at that convention that I attended recently, that consciousness, it was an online seminar that I spoke at, and it was, I wouldn't say I was at like my baseline level of calm. I would say that I was at, I was, I mean, there were people all the way from Europe watching that. I mean, it was like, it was international. And I felt kind of like, it's weird, because at the same, there's two things going on. I mean, there's like preparation. You can be like super prepared and be more confident and just be well prepared, like have your ideas tested out well, like you know what you're going to say, like you've practiced it, right? But then at the same time, emotions and the mind and the body all together, this whole energy system sometimes behaves in ways that we don't anticipate all the time. And so maybe we're really prepared, but then, we get on stage or something, and then because of past conditioning, our energy system behaves a certain way according to that conditioning, but it's not how we want it to behave. And so how do we deal with that? It's like, I think for me, at least in the last couple of weeks, it's been a lot of increasing my awareness of my physiological state. So when I'm, let's say I'm nervous before some sort of task I'm about to do, whether it's speaking or doing a presentation or whatever, I'm building my awareness of like my physical body, right? Because like level 0 awareness, like the beginner level awareness is like, oh, I'm nervous, right? Okay, well, yeah, but there's more going on. What's level 2? What's a little bit of higher awareness? Like, well, I'm feeling nervous, and then that nervousness is also accompanied by a fast heartbeat and maybe sweaty palms. It's like, okay, now you're a little bit more aware. Now level 3 awareness. What's level 3 awareness? Well, the sweaty palms, the heartbeat, how maybe that's resulting from a thought or a belief, core belief that I have. So where is that core belief? And you see, as you go up these levels, I think it becomes clearer and clearer why we behave and feel the way that we behave and feel.
I liked that a lot. I liked how you explain the levels of awareness. And I think that it's really cool to take things step by step, because it's like when you're trying to envision something that you want, right? You're not going to envision the whole goddamn picture at once. You gotta make sure the colors are right in your head. You gotta say you're imagining where you want to be on your next birthday, right? You can imagine a beach scene, right? Or you can go step by step in your head, and you can go step 1, sand. What's the color of it? How does it feel? Is it hot? Boom, you're there. And then you go on to the next thing. What color is the ocean? What's the temperature of it? You can't just make up that whole entire scene in your mind. I mean, like we're definitely pretty incredible humans, but it's hard to do that. So to take things slow and take things step by step, along with the level 1 awareness, the level 2 awareness, the level 3 awareness, the level 4 awareness, you take things step by step, and you kind of, you're being easier on yourself. And I think that's something to say to yourself when you're, doing those levels, or when you're getting an image in your head is, I'm doing this, I'm trying. And I may not get it right on the first time, but I I will get it right eventually because I know that I can. Like, I know that I can get this right. Right. So yeah.
I think there's always going to be some discomfort in, when you get out and try something new, because you're pushing your mind, you're pushing your psyche sort of into this new, well, I wonder if the resistance comes from like a weak self-image or something. Like, what's pulling as we push forward into progress and expansion and new situations, that resistance that's being pulled from the other end, like, where's that? Who's pulling that? Is it like a limiting belief that's pulling that in the other direction? Like, who's responsible for that resistance? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it would just be the programming that we have. I think that it would just be the limiting beliefs and stuff that we have. But what I've come to realize is that limiting beliefs, all they are just things that we learned when we were younger that aren't actually true. And they halt us from doing like so many fucking cool things, because it's uncomfortable, because we're scared, because we've never witnessed it before.
As I was growing up, someone used to tell me, whenever I wanted something, I would be told, well, Santa might bring it to you or give it to you for Christmas or something, right? And I thought about that. I've really thought about, does that condition someone to be passive when it comes to finances, right? Because it would be different if a little kid said, oh, I want this thing, and then an adult told them, well, how much does that cost? What would you have to do to earn that amount of money? Give me 5 ideas you can do right now that would generate or create those dollars, which you can then trade for that item. I think that would train an individual very differently than if you just tell them, well, you might get it for your birthday, you might get it for Christmas. Like, it's really disempowering, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
I think it's really disempowering as well. Not only that, but I think it's extremely disempowering that they don't fucking teach you about it in school. It makes me literally so mad. Like, it gets under my skin, because it's like you're training everyone to just learn shit and fucking go to school and then go get a job, right? But it's like, did you ever teach them how to handle their money? Did you ever teach them how to step into the energy of getting what you want? Did they ever teach you how to invest? Did they ever teach you, about money? And no, they didn't. So that's why a lot of us have like a lot of limiting beliefs surrounding money, because we don't know yet. It's something that like we need to learn, which is no problem. But it's like when you're stepping into that energy of love and kindness, it's not really something that you learned. So there's almost like a limiting belief that was programmed in you. Well, it's like, well, nobody that I knew or grew up around or was taught by growing up, they didn't know what I'm doing right now. So it could be wrong, sort of thing, because it's like religion, it's like some people's religion, like, say that like sex is bad, I guess, right? So it's like you're having sex and you're feeling amazing, and all of a sudden you fall into like the deep pits of hell because that one limiting belief comes up, and it's like, it's that programming that was just stored in your brain, and it's like, I am going to hell because I'm having sex, and this is dirty, and this is bad, and it's evil and everything. So that's like where I guess like the programming comes in, and the limiting beliefs and the negative self-talk that are stopping us from, pulling forward to our highest evolution. But which is cool, because we can use the newsfeed analogy that you were talking about, and the No, the newsfeed and the level 1 awareness and the taking things step by step so you can, you know, take away those limiting beliefs that are so mean.
I was smiling because it's like, what a funny image to imagine two people having sex and then they're feeling great, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, not that core belief, no. Like they're like from religion, you know, oh, my religion, no. Oh, thanks religion, you just ruined the experience, you know. Thanks God, you owe me for this one.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
Make up for it when I get to heaven. You better make up for this, God.
You better help me with this right now. This shit can't be true.
So to wrap up the newsfeed metaphor, you know, it's like someone could say, oh, well, you know, you're just giving these metaphors for the mind and blah, blah, blah. Where's the actual, like, you know, where's the actual skills and practice or whatever techniques? Well, it is a technique because it really changes your relationship to your mind. And that's what needs to be changed, is that relationship between you and your thoughts, that they're seen more as some sort of external phenomenon, like you said, passing clouds, you know, or posts on a news feed. It's like, you don't have to, you know, you see a post and yeah, it's going to cause a reaction, but you're kind of, the presumption with a news feed is that you can kind of control it. You can mute people, you can mute certain posts, you can just, you know, decide to turn it off. Like it's a little bit more distanced, right? So it's that relationship to your mind. And in today's episode, we talked a lot about resistance and sort of discomfort in trying new things, in shedding those limiting beliefs, putting yourself in new situations. That discomfort to me is like, it's a good sign. If I have a day where I don't have that feeling, I wonder, like, dude, why did I not push myself today? Like, why did I play the turtle and like hide in my shell or whatever? It's like, why didn't I go out? And because there's a feeling. To me, that's the feeling of growth. It's like this slight unease, slight excitement, you know. That's the recipe, I think. It's like a dash of excitement, a dash of unease, discomfort, right? But you put those ingredients together, to me, that's like the equation for a good day of self-growth.
You absolutely murdered today's episode.
Why do you say that?
I got to give you a round of applause because everything you said has literally been like, it's just amazing. It's completely on point. So I don't know what you did last night or last week that is causing this seed to sprout. But today, like, you're always on point, but like today, like that was great. So I just had to give you credit for that. And second of all,
thank you.
I really, really, really like what you said about we have to change the relationship with our mind. And I think that, okay, because like, yes, it is 10 times easier to scroll through an Instagram feed and then get it out of your head. You're like, well, I don't want to see that, you know? But I feel like people think it's harder to, like, they're like, oh, well, what's the strategy? Like, thanks for that, but what's the strategy? What do we do? Well, I think that the answer is what you do is you go through that feed in your mind. And the reason why it's so hard for you to take away those thoughts, those on the feed that you don't want, is because you think that you're not capable. You're like, that's not what humans do. Like, I can't do that. And that's part of programming. And that's part of negative self-talk. But once you practice a little bit more every day, you're going to be able to get it. And that old programming is going to to shed away from your brain, and you're going to have that better relationship with your mind where you and your mind are working together on this thing, and you are in control of your mind. And your mind, your subconscious, that ogre that we were talking about, he's not trying to kidnap your ass anymore because he's on your side. And I think that eventually you'll get to that point when you have a better relationship with your mind. So I really, really like that.
Awesome. Yeah. I know you said I murdered it today with the thoughts, but I think a big piece of that is having the right co-host for the, for the flow of ideas. So yes. So right on. I think we did it. And any events coming up for your coaching that people should know about?
Well, I just started today. I'm doing 90-minute intensives. And that's where you and I just fucking sit. We get everything out, and it gets intense. And we help you shed away the things that you're not going to need to become the woman you envision. So you can go ahead and DM me 90 on Instagram, and it's Try Tragedy, TryTragedy.
That's cool. Yeah, I think it's so valuable to have times where you can just like voice yourself for an extended period of time and really, really explore and address what's in your mind, because in everyday life, we just kind of sweep it under the rug and that sort of a thing. So super valuable. Yeah.
Thanks, Robert. What about you? Anything coming up?
Yeah, last weekend I did the social confidence class. It was a Q&A, and it worked well, actually. I didn't realize that I advertise it on Meetup, the Meetup app. And
love that.
Someone showed up from Seattle or Washington, somewhere in Washington. And I said, I thought Meetup was local. And they said, no, I searched for social anxiety, and your event came up, and so that person attended, and I answered a lot of really good questions for that person. So, so I guess anybody can see it, but search on Meetup. And if you need the link, because I'll probably do it most Saturdays, I'll probably do it again this Saturday. Just send me a message on Facebook or Instagram if you want to debrief on social situations and find out how to be more confident, how to understand social dynamics, and that will be going down this Saturday. So yeah.
Y'all better go to that. Oh my God, that is so cool. I love that. I love that, really.
Right on. All right. Well, let's keep on our mission of empowering the mind, and we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.